Hey guys, Owen here with Cafe de Paraiso. I'm just making a video today just to say hello and to talk about cold brew a little bit. What is cold brew? Why is cold brew so amazing? I've been serving cold brew at the local farmers market in Las Vegas here to my customers who show up there, making it in 5-gallon batches using this Toddy system, which is a nice way to brew. There's a lot of ways to brew cold brew, but I think I've kind of figured out some things along the way that will help people understand, one, like, why is cold brew really interesting, really fun, who's drinking it, why is it so popular, especially among younger folks, and why you should try it, why you should try making it yourself and having fun with it. There's just a lot of interesting things to learn, and I think a lot of it goes under the radar, is underappreciated. And I think once you've had a really amazing cold brew, it kind of can be a life-changing thing for some people, in terms of like just coffee in their life and what they do with it. So what I have found out is that cold brew is super popular among young folks. Cold brew is this thing that is not the same as iced coffee. Cold brew is coffee that it's the liquid form of coffee that has never touched hot water. So why is that so different than iced coffee? Well, it's different because it's actually a different liquid. Hot water, when it touches coffee grinds, it creates acidic acid, which is normal thing in coffee, and it kind of is produced the more the liquid and the coffee is exposed to heat. So when a coffee is sitting on like a heating pad, which you shouldn't use for hot coffee because it creates more acid, makes it more bitter. That's what happens. And like if you are using hot coffee, it's going to be sitting. That's why you want to have a thermos that insulates the coffee. Cold brew, on the other hand, so you make it either at room temperature, you make it maybe in the refrigerator, at something that is basically under 90-degree temperature. And so the liquid has never been really hot. The coffee grinds have never touched heat. So you've got less acid in there, and that's going to produce a more smooth taste. And because it's not so hot, it's a little easier to handle. But the big one is that the acid that's formed in the coffee, I think, kind of makes it go bad sooner, so it starts to taste bad. And I think also because just the nature of cold brew is it's kind of easier to brew as a concentrate, and that's because it's easy to brew as a concentrate. You use less water, and you're going to be soaking it a long time anyway, so you're going to get kind of maximum extraction out of those coffee grinds, and you're going to have like a nice, very dense coffee liquid that you can then put into any drink that you want, and it's going to dilute when you put it into that drink. So the same way that, like, the benefit of espresso is you can have a really dense, small amount of a coffee that you put into something, let's say with some type of a milk substance, or you're adding other stuff, it doesn't take up the whole glass. So you get, like, you can add it into anything and it's going to distribute its flavor without bulking up the liquid. The same thing is the case with a concentrated cold brew. So you could make the concentrated cold brew, you could use, like, let's say you use a French press and you put in a bunch of coffee grinds and you let it sit for maybe 2 days. Some people do like 12 hours, some people do a day, some people do 2 or 3 days. So whatever you want. If you're doing multiple days, I'd say put it in the fridge. But if you're doing a short amount of time, you'll want to probably do it at room temperature. The warmer it is, the faster, the less time you need to brew it. But that's also kind of associated with the grind type and how you're straining it maybe. And what your preference is on the flavor based on what the bean is. So anyway, so you get some really concentrated beverage, and then the other side benefit of that is that cold brew that you make, especially the more concentrated it is, it's going to be still good, basically fresh and not going bad for about 2 to 3 weeks, as long as you keep it refrigerated. And that is something you can't do with hot brewed coffee that you then make cold and put in the fridge or something like that. Hot brewed coffee just can't do what cold brew can do, in terms of the versatility for storage, for ease of use. So you can make a cold brew batch, save yourself time, make a big batch in kind of a lemonade pitcher, or you can, at some big box store, they've got a lemonade looking pitcher thing with a cold brew metal basket inside, and you just put the grinds in. You make a real concentrated version of it, and then over the next week or so, you can be pouring yourself a little bit of cold brew. Depends on how much you drink, obviously, but if you drink a lot, you can still make a really big batch, and then that's going to last you, and you don't have to do the brewing because it's ready to go. And then you just wake up, go to the fridge, and it's boom, boom. And for the fast person on the go, that's super convenient. And some people don't like the whole hot coffee going bad. It's it takes energy to maintain, or to put it back up to heat, or it runs out of heat depending on the thermos you have. Cold brew, you just put it in the fridge, and it's always the temperature you want at any moment. Hot coffee can't do that stuff. So there is this kind of convenience and ease of use that cold brew has that's really cool. And then also this idea of low acidity, the smoothness of the flavor that comes with that, and the versatility of having this cold thing that's already cold, that is concentrated, or that could be concentrated. You're welcome to concentrate as much as you want or as little as you want. So there's just a lot of flexibility with it. Cold brew, I think something about good tasting cold brew on ice as a summer drink has really become popular. But I think some of those just ease of use economics, maybe the time saving aspect, and maybe just the openness and flexibility for younger generations to get into cold brew has made it so it's super popular drink amongst young people. At the farmer's market where I sell the cold brew, it's probably if a young person walks up, I already know they're going to order cold brew. It's really the older folks that are ordering the hot coffee, and there'll be segments of the younger folks who no matter what temperature it is, they're always getting cold brew. And there's also a segment of older folks that no matter what temperature it is, they're always getting hot. And then there's a range in there that is if they're feeling hot, they want something cold. They're feeling cold, they want something hot. But generally it's almost 9-to-1 young folks getting, even more maybe, getting cold brew. And and I start to see more of the older generation too trying the cold brew and actually liking it. And they'll say iced coffee there. It's probably just sort of a lack of awareness that they think of iced coffee and they don't like it because maybe what they consider iced coffee to be is a hot brewed coffee put over ice, which is sort of an extra step of dilution. So it's, it would make sense that they would associate that as a weaker drink in a way, unless it was let's say espresso put over ice or something. But, and they might even think someone in their past, maybe over the last 40 years or whatever, that before cold brew was really a thing in a popular sense, that anything that was iced coffee or cold coffee meant coffee that was brewed and is no longer fresh. It's brewed hot and no longer fresh. And that would be an accurate kind of perception, I would say. But they don't know or realize that cold brewed coffee without the heat is a totally different liquid. It's a totally different thing in a sort of molecular sense and in terms of what's going to happen in your mouth when you drink it. So it's this different thing. It's a different kind of coffee. If you haven't had it, you've got to try it. and you should try brewing it at home. And that's kind of the main focus with this, is I want to say you guys need to try it if you haven't tried it. And there's a bunch of easy ways to make it. Basically, all cold brew is you're just throwing coffee grinds in something that has water, or like, a French press, a lemonade pitcher, anything like that. And you throw in water that's room temperature, and you stir it up, make sure all the coffee grinds get wet, because the whole point was we're trying to steep the coffee grinds in this lukewarm water, letting them just sit. And then we're going to give it like 8 hours to 12 hours. There's a bunch of little tiny details that'll, impact how good it is, the flavor outcome, whether it's clear or more cloudy, or what's the ratio you want to use. I can get into all those things. I'll give you just like a super rough intro in this video, and another video I'll do like kind of a real breakdown to give you like precise numbers and stuff. But I would say at least the ratio that I use is 1 gallon of water for every 1 pound of coffee. And that's, when I say 1 pound of coffee, that's the finished product 1 pound of liquid. That's after you take out the grinds, what's left in there. I actually put in some more water to kind of bring it up to this ratio, because I found that when I do it normally, and I'm doing this for me, it's when I'm doing a 5 gallon batch and I've got 5 pounds of coffee. When I take out the grinds, it displaces the liquid, and there's not actually 5 gallons of liquid in there, so I add more to bring it up to that. I used to not do that, and it was this super potent concentrated beverage, which is way more powerful than a lot of people think. There was grown adult guys who were like MMA fighters who worked at this farmer's market, who they would have just one drink and then they'd have to sit down because it was like the caffeine just overpowered them and they couldn't work the rest of the day because it was just like too much. So so that's why I do the ratio that I do. It's 1 gallon of water for every 1 pound of coffee. And I do like a coarse grind. You could say medium coarse. You could do French press. The grind size somewhat, will dictate some extraction, but it's extracting for so long, you're kind of going to maximize extraction regardless how you do it. It's more going to be about how convenient it is to strain the water out of the coffee grinds after the brewing's done. That's where the coffee grinds are really kind of a key factor, I think, is, you've stirred up the coffee grinds in the liquid, and it's going to be the cold brew. You stored it maybe in the fridge, maybe on the counter for like 12 hours or a day and a half, whatever. And you take it out, and now you got to separate the liquid from those grinds. Now, usually with coffee, there's basically the coffee that floats to the top and then the coffee grinds that sit at the bottom. It's possible you could do something where you take off the grinds on top and then just slowly pour out the coffee that's there and then leave the grinds at the bottom, but that's really tricky. The easiest way, I think, is that you have some type of paper medium with some type of support right behind it, like let's say a cheesecloth or a strainer that's very strong, followed by some type of a large paper cloth that's maybe shaped like the receptacle that the cold brew was in, and you use that to pull the grinds out, and they'll be dripping. Maybe set them on some type of a strainer so it continues dripping, or put it somewhere else, or squeeze out the remaining liquid that was in the grinds. Or in the case of let's say those lemonade pitchers with the metal filter inside, you just pull that out, let it drip a little bit, and you basically got your cold brew left over. That is a great way to do it. You could use just a metal filter if you want to, that's fine. Or even, French press if you want to do it like that. What I found though, is that with cold brew, you will get a lot more clarity of flavor and potentially more sweetness and less, let's say even less bitterness, have it be even more smooth, the less that the actual very fine particles of the coffee are still in the liquid. And there's 2 ways maybe you could do that. One is you could just pour the cold brew after you've pulled the grinds out, pour it through another paper filter to do just another level of straining. Or you could do something where you just let the liquid sit for, I don't know, 8 hours or something like that. And what's going to happen is those super fine particles are going to do what happens in a Turkish coffee, where they'll actually settle at the very bottom. And then what you can do is gently pour out the coffee, the cold brew that is on top. And that cold brew will have a lot more clarity to it. So basically the really fine sediment in the cold brew will separate out with gravity over time. And then that'll be like, a step 2 for making it even more clear and great. But the cold brew is still going to taste really good, I think, if you're using a good coffee, you've got good water, and you just followed steps, and you have your grind right, coarse, and you gave it enough time to do the extraction. You're still going to have a good cold brew. It's still going to perform well. But if you're drinking it black, you really want to get the most clarity in the coffee, and you want to really get the best version of it. I recommend taking either the gravity step, letting it sit longer to separate out the tiny fine particles that'll settle at the bottom, or doing like another paper filter set to basically remove the really super fine particles. Sometimes, depending on the paper you're using, you might need 2 of those papers. But I believe doing that step is going to really help to add more clarity to the cold brew. So anyway, yeah, cold brew, super versatile, super amazing, really popular, very convenient, and the system that I use to brew is called Toddy, Toddy. They just have some devices. They got devices for your house. They've got wholesale commercial devices like the one that I use, like 5-gallon bucket style, with like a lift inside, and there's a spout on it. They have plastic ones like that. They have metal stainless steel ones. For home, I think they just have like the small kind of plastic, looks like a bucket, and they have paper filters with strainers that are designed the exact same size as the thing. And some of them even, like, you set it on top of, let's say, lemonade pitcher that you're going to hold your cold brew in. So it's a pretty convenient system. It's just the ergonomics of it. Like, yeah, you could go buy a little food safe bucket and make a hole with a little spout and manage it however way you want. Literally, there's no wrong way to do it, as long as you're just getting the grinds to soak in water and then have them, sit long enough. I'd say stir it up near the end, strain out the grinds, and then you've got cold brew. That's about it. I'm going to keep this video a bit shorter, so I'm just going to end it here. But I wanted to give you guys like a cold brew intro, say kind of why it's so cool, why it's so popular, and let me know in the comments if you guys make cold brew, if you've had any cold brew journeys, what's the best cold brew you've ever had. For me, I've noticed that my Brazil natural bean is just like off the charts, amazing, super popular. And my belief is that even though it's a coffee that doesn't have a lot of sort of loud acidic flavors that kind of carry when it's brewed hot, that actually helps it make it an even smoother drink when you make it as cold brew. And the Brazil natural that I use naturally has this like really nice sort of bitter cacao flavor tone, but as a natural process, it actually has some sweetness. And it's just this like incredible chocolatey cold brew that, I hope you guys, if you're interested, go to my website, cafeduparaíso.com, and order a bag of this Brazil natural, because it is just so good. And I think it is an awesome base to start trying and making cold brew with at home. And I sell that in like 1-pound bags, 3 and 5-pound bags also. So you get a better rate. The cost goes down per pound if you order like a 5-pound bag for sure. Then it's only like maybe $12 a pound or less or something. So it's a really good deal. It makes amazing cold brew. You really got to try it. That's my Brazil natural bean. It's got this awesome chocolate flavor, and you mix it like once you make the cold brew, you mix it with like a sweet vanilla almond milk or something. It tastes like chocolate milk. It's completely nuts. So you guys got to check it out. cafeduparaíso.com. This is Owen, and catch you guys in the next video.